So today's topic is one that I believe to be quite relevant, perhaps in today's modern world more than any other time. It's one that I have had much personal experience with, and I believe that many of you will resonate with as well. So we've all heard the expression positive role model. Perhaps some of us have even been lucky enough to be blessed with one or more individuals in this life who could possibly fit that description, though many of us were blessed with a much different kind of role model, you might say from the opposite end of the spectrum. And I call these individuals shadow role models. A shadow role model is not so much an example of what to do and how to be, but more so a blatant example of what not to do and what not to be. And we come to realize this throughout our various interactions with these people. Oftentimes, these individuals will be those who, at first glance, have seemingly hurt, hindered, and even betrayed us most in life. Though, because they are such a strong presence in our lives, we have no choice but to observe them closely and to endure. Of course, this can be trying and sometimes even scarring, but if one is able to practice presence of mind throughout these interactions or even afterwards when they're reflecting upon them, they can very easily transmute them into growth and progress towards their own spiritual development through the application and integration of the various insights that are picked up while navigating these relationships. In many cases, these shadow role models will be a parent, a sibling, or another close relative. And because of this blood relation, there will naturally be certain tendencies, habits, and psychological conditions which are shared between the individual and this shadow role model. In such a scenario, the individual who is experiencing one of these toxic relationships has a highly applicable opportunity to observe up close and personal the live unfoldment of various conditions, habits, and tendencies which exist also within them at the genetic level and could very likely attempt to manifest through them and their own nature at some point within their lives. Therefore, if and when this does happen, the individual will have an upper hand because they will be able to recognize these patterns as they unfold. From having experienced it from an in depth, up close perspective as a young person. So, my usage of the word shadow in shadow role models is it's not merely a new aged attempt at being trendy, as you will see in a lot of material today referencing one's shadow, but rather it serves the intimate purpose of relating these shadow role models as direct contributors to what an individual's overall shadow actually is. That being the great complexity that is an individual's unacknowledged inner darkness, tendencies, habits, etc., and trauma based internal conditions, which are embodied and felt true far after the initial experience. So, these various internal conditions and entities, while deadly if either entertained too often or downright ignored, are actually a fundamental part of any spiritual awakening. They are a large part of our prima materia. They are our base nature, our lead, which we will be transmuting into alchemical gold in terms of spiritual alchemy. These conditions are our materials for the great work. They are our means of growth and development. So, I've often found for the old soul that various degrees of neglect early on in life, which end up leading to some kind of lack of guidance, more than often are directly related to the early development of various extrasensory faculties and spiritual gifts, usually in the form of an inner teacher or guide or a sense of intuition, which kind of makes up for the lack of stability at home. And it just so happens that this inner teacher or guide is actually a crucial part of any spiritual awakening. Therefore, when one undergoes this process early in life out of necessity, it actually sets them up nicely down the road in terms of in depth perspective, spiritual and psychological endurance, and a strong sense of self reliance, which is absolutely important. It can certainly be difficult for one to come to admit that these experiences which they underwent throughout the course of these relationships were of any benefit at all. But I personally believe through direct experience that an experience had is an experience gained, and that no matter how trying the situation or how traumatic the experience, there is indeed always much perspective to be gained and much insight that can be extracted and applied from having experienced one of these relationships with the shadow role model in our lives. So, if you, as an awakening individual, find yourself thinking, look at all that I've achieved and all that I've been able to accomplish and all the knowledge I've gained despite my humble beginnings and despite all these traumatic experiences. Genuinely consider the possibility that this success that you've gained and this knowledge you've acquired is not at all in spite of these traumatic experiences, but rather a direct result of them. Much love, my friends.